Welcome back to the channel. So I'm here with a good friend of mine, Ernest. Ernest is a guy with a lot of experience with GM. Now, I program GMs here all the time, but I'm not the kind of parts encyclopedia for GM products like maybe I am for these Foxbody Mustangs. So Ernest has a 1989, it's an IROC, isn't it?
Yep.
Camaro IROC. It is an incredibly similar car to the fridge here, which I've been working on over the winter. They're both white, they're both modest V8s, they're both 273 gears, they're both automatics. Yep. The fridge was so stock you couldn't believe it when I got it. This car is more or less stock, yeah. And so we decided it would be interesting to do some sort of head-to-head dyno work and compare these traditional 80s rivals with each other and see how they actually stack up on the dyno today. So why don't you introduce yourself a little bit, Ernest, and tell us a little bit about the car.
All right, well, I've been working with these TPI systems for probably the better part of 20 years, probably more, really since they came out. So I do have a fair bit of experience, both from the hardware side and the programming of them. This particular one is an 89. It's effectively stock. It's got all its emissions equipment and everything still on it. The only thing I've done to it is I've converted it from mass airflow to speed density, which is a little more modern computer, because those mass airflow computers on these cars have very poor resolution for their data logging. Makes it very hard to tune them. So it's kind of a common mod, and you know, one of the things I'd like to see here is does it actually help performance-wise by eliminating the restriction of the MAF.
Right, so that computer would be out of what, a 91?
Yes, they start in 90. The 1990, they started with the speed density, the 1227730 ECU, which replaced the old MAF one, which was a 1227165, I think it was. Yeah, it's just it's a lot better supported in terms of there's sort of a third-party code mask that you can use on there that. And it enables a whole lot of new features.
I think you get a higher RPM range in the fuel tables and stuff too.
It does a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, it has the V tables are up to I think 6,500 RPM now. There's because
it only goes to something like 5 or 52 or something.
Exactly,
the stalker,
RPM.
right?
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, this particular one, this is version 7 now. It actually has capability of force induction as well, as well as launch control and all kinds of different things.
This computer's out of another Camaro. It's not a Corvette computer, right?
Like physically, the computer itself didn't just come in F bodies and Y bodies, the Corvette. It was also found in all kinds of front-wheel drive applications. So I think I just got to pick and pull from, I don't know what it was. You know,
right,
I've collected a
generic
few over the years,
GM, and then you just flashed it.
Exactly.
Well, or is it uses a chip module,
it
right? It
uses a PROM, yeah.
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 Okay. Now, what do you normally, when you're programming them, what do you normally use? I know I use Tuner Pro RT when I work on these systems.
Yeah, I use Tuner Pro, and what do we call that thing? A Pocket Programmer 2, just an old school serial port on an old XP laptop. So yeah, Tuner Pro RT. For data logging, I use a thing called ALDL Droid, which runs on any Android phone. It's quite convenient for that. Yeah.
And is that so? You've got a Bluetooth dongle that goes on the ALDL port and that works with the ALDL Droid, or how is it done? Or is it plugged in?
Yeah, this one's plugged in, but you can. I do on my other car. I have another car, a 1976 Trans Am, which I converted to that system as well. That one I've got it set up for Bluetooth, so it's wireless. But this one I just plugged in with a converter.
Okay. Yeah. Traditionally, when I work on these, I use a Motes Ostrich, and then you can do real-time updates on the car, and that way you program it all over a USB port. and when you're done, you commit the programming to an actual PROM, which you put on a module on the PCM.
Yeah.
So are you using something like that, or you just make changes and then reflash the PROM every time?
I just make changes and reflash the PROM because I'm not doing it in this kind of environment on a regular basis. I do have what they call a pocket ROMulator, which is essentially like that ostrich, but I haven't really used it a lot lately. Actually, it's been a lot of years since I've used it, but it's the same sort of idea. I find it easier to just reflash, to be honest. But there's certainly, I mean, if I had an ostrich, which you can't get anymore because MOTS doesn't exist, but yes, I would use that if I could.
I wore one of my MOTS t-shirts for today just because I knew we'd be talking about this. It's unfortunate we kind of lost that resource.
Yeah, that was a huge resource.
If you do have an ostrich, it's a good way to go. I guess the other problem you got is if you were using one of these, I guess, G1 adapters from MOTS, and then 27 SF512 EEPROMs.
Yeah.
Those chips are not available, or if they are, they're of dubious provenance. Like, for instance, they've been desoldered from something in some sweatshop overseas, and they may not flash at all, or they may only take one flash, or they may be a counterfeit. So there's lots of problems with that. And I understand that since MOTS demise in November, that there are especially on the GM side of things, some guys have been introducing modules that use RAM parts or PROM parts, EEPROM parts that are available and that are going to be able to continue in the future. Have you had any experience with those?
I believe the company is called Boosted Northwest or something like that. I've looked into it, but no, I have not yet purchased anything from them. Luckily, I still have a stock of the old
I got
512s, and
I got a little stock of 512s and a few of the G1 modules and stuff as well. But as far as this shop's concerned, when they're gone, they're gone.
Well,
so
exactly.
we'll kind of be looking for a way forward.
Yeah, that might be the way.
I think we'll be able to continue to use the ostrich that I have for a long period of time. And when I data log, I usually, on this vintage of car, I use the Tuner Pro RT
for the actual
to actually data log it. Or, especially on some of the Corvettes, you get into some of the later Corvettes, you run into problems where there's crosstalk on the bus, and there are some log parameter or template files that work with them, sort of, but I have a GM Tech 2 that I use on the later ones, which works good, and that's a a dealership style tool.
Tech 2 will talk to anything pretty much.
You get too old though, and Tech 2 won't talk to it. Like, I'm not sure if you can talk to an 89 with a Tech 2.
I did actually. Well, yeah, actually mine will. It depends on the software, I believe, that you have on your Tech 2, but yeah, mine does. I also have one of those old Snap-on bricks that I picked up on Marketplace for $150 or something like that. That will talk to them for sure. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess what we're going to try and do is do a little series of things here where you've already seen quite a few of the little changes we can make to the Foxbody to try and improve performance on that. And we're going to go ahead and do some of these kind of things on the Camaro. I'm not an expert on all of the little tricks and details, but we got stuff on the Foxbody world like the 10-minute tune-up, and we talked about changing timing with software versus the distributor, a bunch of little things like that. Tell me a little bit about some of the tricks and tips that guys can use if they're starting with like a stock Camaro to improve performance.
Well, much of the same things apply as they do on the Mustang. Timing, changing the intake, the cold air intake, I guess. Things that I intend that we should try. The air cleaner intake on these things is quite restrictive. It's kind of neat the way they did it, but they pinch it down to very, very tight tolerances to get through to get across the hood there. Sorry. So that kind of restricts things. So I'm interested in seeing how putting or even removing the air cleaner completely, or putting just a snorkel type K&N on the front, how that's going to work out. There's a little airfoil that goes into the throttle body that's supposed to, this is the claim. People claim that that gives you some increase in performance. We'll try that, but I have my doubts as to whether it does anything.
If I had my guess, I'd guess that kind of thing is more of a restriction than a help.
Yeah, well, I mean, it doesn't block anything. It does smooth the airflow, but whatever, we'll see. There's coolant lines that run through the throttle body. They say by bypassing the throttle body coolant lines, you're cooling down the charge going in there. I've done that on this car, so that's something that you can do. There's a lot of little things, of course. How much they actually make a difference. The real thing with the TPIs, the TPI system was designed for 305. This is a 350 5.7 liter. When they originally designed it, it was designed to flow enough air to feed a 305. So those tubes are pretty restrictive, and really the thing that holds them back is that intake system, and specifically the tubes. So in the future, in the next iteration of this, I do have some SLP tubes and a Scoggin-Dickey performance base, which has its own problems, but we'll go into that later, that I'd like to put on and try that for the next iteration of this. So that should correct some of those problems.
Okay, well, we're going to run some baseline tests and a couple of simple things today, and I guess just to establish the parameters where we're starting. This car has 94 octane in it, right?
Correct.
It's a 350, and it is not a stock 350. It's a rebuild of somewhat unknown provenance, right? Before
I got it, I don't know the specifics. I know it's a local rebuilder here. I have the receipts that basically at some point in the 90s the engine was replaced. But this is supposed to be a stock type rebuild, right? Rebuild of some sort. So I don't know what heads it's got on it. That's something I haven't really looked into. It certainly drives and acts like it's dead stock. As I said, it has all its emissions equipment on it. Everything is stock. The only thing that you can say about it is, well, two things. One, it's got a 3-inch cat back exhaust system, a Flowmaster on it.
Does it have cats?
No.
Okay.
They took out the cat. So that was before I got it. I'm very environmentally friendly. I would never do that.
No, of course not.
So it has that exhaust system. It has, as I said, I've converted to speed density, and at the same time, I found when I did that, that the injectors were shorted, which is a known issue with these cars. Those GM Multec 1s always short. So if you have a car that has GM Multec 1s, get rid of them, because they will, if they're not shorted, they will eventually short. There's even a GM service bulletin on it. The ethanol and fuel, which we just recently got here in Canada, eats away at the insulation on the coil windings, and then it shorts them out, and you get all kinds of drivability issues. This car had that. So it's also got 30-pound injectors in it. Just went with 30-pound in order to, give me some expansion room in the future for modifications. So that's it. Other than that,
does it have an air conditioner?
Yeah, it's got air conditioning. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, do you Mustang guys think we're getting worked over with a stock head-to-head?
It's still pretty stock.
This reminds me, Ernest, this reminds me of standing around at the car meets and guys are looking at your ridiculous Mustang and you say, yeah, it's pretty stock. Like my coupe up front, it has stock.
Well, it's not quite that.
It has stock cylinder head alignment dowels.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Okay, so but I mean, really, it's not a heavily worked example, and we think this motor was a stock type rebuild, and
correct.
You got most of the
stuff
stuff on
have
it.
A cam on it or anything like that.
It's definitely not as stock as this car is, but I'd be interested to see how we do. The fact it's got a slush box and 273s and all that is is all, I think makes it a very nice match. And let's get real. In contemporary times, when these two cars were contemporaries, nobody left them stock.
No, exactly.
They got worked over pretty hard.
Pretty
and
quickly.
there was a lot of this, yeah, it's pretty stock posturing when it wasn't stock at all. So
you pop the hood on these, or you pop the hood on that thing, and you would never know it's not stock. It looks stock. There's virtually nothing in there.
That's the trick, isn't it?
Exactly.
Hidden nitrous, does it have that?
Not that I put in it.
Does that mean no, or you just didn't put it in?
Not yet.
Yeah, you got the tube chassis that's all full of nitrous in the tubes or whatever.
It's not this thing. No.
Yeah, right. Okay, good. Well, we're going to get the car loaded up and run some passes on it, and we'll see how we do. Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, hit that notification bell so that you won't miss out on future videos.